So could I now invite the Christchurch Youth Council. This Committee of the Whole has set about inviting different groups to come and present to us. And the latest is the invitation extended to the Christchurch Youth Council. So thank you very much for making the time.
Thank you very much for just giving us the opportunity to speak this morning. Just quickly, we'll introduce ourselves. So my name's Hamish Kewen, and I'm the current chair of the Youth Council. And during the day, I'm also a full-time university student out at Lincoln.
I'm James. I'm a Hillmorton High School student, and I'm currently the deputy chair.
I'm Alison. I'm currently at the University of Canterbury, and I'm the deputy secretary on the Youth Council.
So this morning we'd just quickly like to go through who we are and what we do, and then finally looking at the future relationship with the City Council. We do have some ideas that were sent around to you earlier, so really interested to hear your feedback.
So generally we are a group of about 16 young people from a range of backgrounds. Every year, a few young people move on and we try and take on some new young people. And starting this year, we were really pleased that lots and lots of people wanted to be part of our organisation. And so we went through quite a rigorous selection process to get a really good mix of skills. And we want to be a group that pushes for a stronger youth voice, and that means not only being that youth voice, but supporting other organisations to take heed of what young people have to say. By young people, we mean people ages 12 to 24. We don't have anyone quite that young on the Youth Council, but almost. And the big thing that has happened in the last year for us is that we've become an independent organisation. So in the middle of last year, we decided to split from the White Elephant because we were getting to be a big, strong organisation that could stand on its own feet. And we became an incorporated society, which we're very pleased to be, because it allows us to have greater independence and so we can better speak up for young people.
So we have four main purposes within the Youth Council. These are advocating for a stronger youth voice within Canterbury, promoting active citizenship, building relationships with different organisations and groups, and creating a positive environment for youth. So the first purpose of advocating for a stronger youth voice, we don't want to just be acting on our own and speaking as councillors. We want to be speaking on behalf of the youth of Christchurch and acting as a channel through which they can communicate with other organisations and get their opinions heard. So that's a really important thing for us.
Secondly, we want to promote active citizenship. So a lot of young people are quite disfranchised with the whole joining in and democracies thing. And we want to help young people to be part of their communities and to be seen to be valued, and actually valued, for the role that they play. Recently we've run an event called We Speak, which we actually run every year. And that's an event that helps young people develop the skills and the confidence to help them speak out. So briefly, this event had 230 attendees. There were inspirational speakers, there were informative workshops, and there was also the opportunity to meet with other organisations so that young people have got an idea of how can they go out there and support their community and get involved. And that event, like lots of our events, has been very successful. We haven't finished processing all the evaluations that was done, but so far we found that 80% of the people who went said that it was inspirational, informative and interesting, and only 2% disagreed. So we're quite happy with the progress we're making in this field.
Cool. So our third principle is we want to create a positive environment for young people. So we want them to feel included in the community. What the CYC has done last year, which was the Winter's End Youth Market, which a number of you attended, which was incredibly successful, and there is another one happening this year. So that was a chance for young people to showcase their talent, be it music or baking. So we covered a range of things, and this was held at the Pallet Pavilion. So we did rough counts throughout the day, and there was 1,500 people from all walks of life. There were young people, old people, everybody in between, which was something that we really wanted out of it. So it's not just a youth-focused thing. We got buy-in from the entire community, and there has been a lot of interest in running another one following. And our fourth one is building relationships. So currently the Christchurch Youth Council sits on the Strengthening Youth Sector group, which is a group of cross-government interested parties. So we are quite privileged to be sitting on that and have a young person sitting part of that. We also have representatives through our organisation on the Zone Management Committee for Christchurch Water Management Strategy. We have the PTAG groups who run through ECAN. We've got UN Youth representatives and UNICEF representatives who sit on the council as well. We also have lots of relationships with other youth-based organisations in the city.
But we're here to talk about how we can have a close relationship with you people, the Christchurch City Council. So what we're looking to do is have a generally closer relationship, but with both organisations retaining their independence and us not feel like we're being told what to do, and us not draining any of your, too much of your time and money. Both the Youth Council and the City Council need to be connecting with the community. They need to be hearing what the community wants, and they need to be acting on the issues and the ideas that come out of the community. We would argue that youth is a particularly important sector because a lot of people can't or don't vote, and they've got very limited interest in connecting with decision makers like you in traditional ways, and so we would like to be an avenue for that to happen.
So at the moment, our current connection with the City Council is primarily through Stacey Holborough, who is the Child Youth Advisor for the Strengthening Communities sector in the Community Support Unit. She offers us a range of support, and that's fantastic. We're also really interested in building a relationship with the councillors at a higher level. So we would like to sort of put the idea out there, potentially to invite councillors along to quarterly meetings, just to hear what we have to say and observe how we run. I think that'd be quite valuable in just having input from an outside view.
We'd like a formalised memorandum of understanding, just to clarify what we're expected to do and what we would like people to do, and to commit both groups to actions that improve youth voice, active citizenship, and building a youth supportive environment.
Ringing the rubble.
Finally, we'd like to ask to act as a sounding board for new ideas, and for us to, in return, be able to act as an avenue to pass ideas on to either the council or Youth of Christchurch. So we're quite active on things like Facebook, and we quite often run surveys. We had one such survey last year with the bus interchange survey, where we had several responses from youth.
Slightly over 1,000, I think it was.
1,300.
Yeah. So this could benefit the arts, culture, and the natural environment committees of the council, for example. And we'd like to be able to, when we're approached by young people with an idea, be able to pass that idea on to the council if that is what's required.
And finally, we would like to sort of plant that seed of we would love to be considered as in the foundation discussions that happen around this table when a plan or a proposal comes. So before it gets down to that final submission process, we would love to have input sort of just a wee bit further up the chain so we can sculpt it to be a youth-friendly plan or a policy that's going through. I feel that would sort of benefit everybody, and it would also mean that there's no backtracking once it gets down to that submission process. So that pretty much sums us up this morning. Just thanks again for the time, and really interested to hear what you have to say.
Look, thank you very much. And I'll start off. I don't know if you're aware, but the council's got a youth policy dating back to 1998 and a youth strategy dating back to 1999. You got any idea about whether we should be updating our thinking in those areas?
Potentially. Things have changed a smidge, so...
Was that pre-internet? No, the reason that I raise it is that there's... and I'd really like to sound you out on this. As you know, Christchurch has become one of the 100 Resilient Cities network of the Rockefeller Foundation, and we're in the process of hiring a Chief Resilience Officer, which we'll be announcing soon, and then we'll be looking at all of our policies and strategies right across the board and asking ourselves whether we can actually reframe them into a single resilient strategy. And I know that for myself, I could go to as many meetings as I like per month, and I could go to a meeting on Healthy Christchurch and another one on Safer Christchurch and another one on, if you get my drift. And it seems to me that a resilient city is a city that is a healthy city. It is a safer city. It is a city that is child-friendly, that has youth orientation in terms of its policies. And so for my way of thinking, I'd like to think that we could actually bring all of this idea of policy and strategy together under the Resilient Cities framework. And I know that I didn't discuss this with you when I met up with you, but what do you think?
Definitely.
That was the right answer. But if you can see my drift, that what I'm wondering is that if we can't actually get everyone that seem to be focused on these disparate issues actually connecting, because actually if you join the dots, it starts to make real sense about how we engage with each other, but also how we engage as across the sort of democratic divide, which seems to be age related.
I know that in the youth sphere, there's a group that's just been established, Youth Voice Canterbury, which is exactly that, is an interagency group of youth-based organisations that are coming together to discuss every issue around the table to make it, you don't have to go to 100 meetings, you can go to one and get the same input, which makes it a lot easier. Yeah.
Tim?
Just with your communications plan, say, towards the council, you've got 16 members, we've got community boards. Had you thought of maybe, because obviously councillors attend those community boards as well, therefore, and are members of them, so therefore, would there be a way that you could do regular meetings and updates with those community boards, because they are ward specific if there are issues in there, and start the relationship with the community boards as a whole? Is that a possibility, or had you thought of that?
James,
yes. Some of our youth councillors have gone to talk to some of the community boards. I haven't been to talk to the Spraden Heathcote one yet, but it's definitely something that we would like to do. As you say, it sort of ties us more down into the processes that are already there and to those smaller communities, which would be fantastic. It's just something that we probably, to be fair, haven't got around to doing yet.
A lot of it comes down to a group of volunteers, so it's in middle of the day meetings, like a number of the community board ones are. A lot of them are at school, at uni, so it becomes that practical sense of we can't get there, we've got to be somewhere else. But we do keep sort of tabs on what is happening, and we are looking at obviously extending where we can.
Jamie, then Jimmy and Yanni.
Cool. Great to see you guys. Thanks so much for coming along. Look, everything that you said that you want to achieve, there is really a comment and a suggestion from me more than a question, but totally agree with you. We want your input. We know we're building the newest city in the world. That's exciting. It is a city of the future today. It is for young people. We desperately need your input. We want that. I'm not sure, you mentioned about helping young people be more involved, and I think, that's because it has never been more beneficial to us as an organisation than what it would be today. I'm not sure what you've got as far as membership numbers or anything like that. How many members do you have?
So, as a council, we have 16 members. Of those...
Are there members of the council?
No, not as such.
My suggestion would be to you guys, I reckon have a membership. Anyone that's between those ages, get them to sign up. Numbers give you clout. Don't charge them anything and say we represent 4,000 people or something like that. All of a sudden that gives you instant weight and it costs you nothing. You can do that via Facebook or set up a page to do that very simply. Do the polls regularly. I want to do everything that I can to help you do that, but I think we probably need a little bit from you guys too. And when there are issues, I'd love it if you could regularly as a council go through the community board, just to really tie you up with work, because I know you don't have enough on your plates at the moment, with uni and everything. Go through the board agendas when we've got policies like local alcohol policy, psychoactive substances, rebuilds of community centres. Form a view on that. Reach out to your members and then please make a deputation. We really want to hear from you on that. And I guess once we get that ball rolling and you're regularly in front of us there, what I would like to do is have you as a regular port of call where we're more proactive around it and say, there's an issue that's coming up that's going to be really pertinent to you. We want your input and let's have a conversation at the early stages rather than the latter stages. But I think get membership, be proactive and make deputations on these issues, follow the agendas which are online. So that's my 2 cents worth. Thanks for letting me prattle on.
That's all right. You're our youngest member, so we are looking for somebody to go to quarterly meetings of the of the Youth Council. You might be putting your hand up, Jimmy.
Okay, one question: what is the relations between the Christchurch Youth Council and some other youth group, except the individual members you mentioned earlier, 60 members? Have any kind of youth group have a representative to participate in your group? Then you might voice out their voices, is my question.
So the way we do sort of understand that there isn't particular sort of organisational representatives on our youth council, we do have a lot of input through that Strengthening Youth Sector group, which is a sort of across-the-board group of agencies that are involved with youth work, with youth groups, in particular MPI, Ministry of Pacific Island Affairs, MPA, sorry. They represent a couple of the Pacifica youth groups in the city, and they also help facilitate that, so that's our key contact through them, so we can actually disseminate information and vice versa. And once again, through Youth Voice Canterbury, we are building that stronger network, so as a youth council, when we sit around the YVC table, we can actually gather that sort of that opinion from everybody, and sort of be a more representative voice.
Thank you.
Yanni?
Thank you. Just to make you aware that the council has already asked staff to report back on how an MOU can be developed with you. So we've asked staff to formalise the relationship already from September last year. But I just had 2 kind of immediate questions, because really it support that, that wider context. But one is, where are you currently meeting, and would it be appropriate, would it be something you'd consider meeting in this building, maybe perhaps in this chamber? Is that something you've discussed? And is that something we could enable if you wanted to do that?
At this stage, it hasn't really cropped up in conversation, but that could be something that the council could definitely consider. That would be quite a photo op, I could think.
Yeah.
So
I think it'd be great that the Youth Council actually meets in the chamber and uses the technology and the resources that we have.
Are they public meetings, just out of interest? Yeah, okay, that could work.
Currently in
the Papua Community Board.
So, and then the second question is, how are you funded, and what's your funding looking like over the next 12 months? And is there anything we need to consider as part of our annual plan or our community grants where we consider funding?
So currently the Youth Council is funded off a MYD partnership fund, which the council sponsored us for a year and a half ago. So that was a lump sum of 20k to fulfil a number of reporting criteria. Once we fill them, we do get another 12. We have applied for small grants funding for We Speak next year, and we also are funded through the Todd Foundation. We've just secured more funding for a full-time employee, which is really exciting, and small grants through other philanthropics, but currently there's no large sums being thrown at us in general.
I'm trying to understand in terms of the current funding that you have for the next year, do you have adequate funding, or do you need more funding? Is there a funding
I don't
gap?
think Councillor Johansson's suggesting that we've got lots of money sitting there.
At this stage, we have enough to do our small events that we do run. Naturally, more money would mean that we could increase our capability significantly. and that'd be a really good conversation to have with you, Yanni, about how we could potentially work something through council, or how that could...
Yeah, I think it would be really good, just when getting a full-time employee, I think is really important, and so I think that's really cool. But also when we get the report back on the youth strategy and the youth policy, I mean, the gap seems to be the lack of implementation.
Look, I mean, I looked at that
So-
resolution. The resolution was made by the previous council back in September, prior to an election that was happening in October, asking for, you know, an update on that and the development of the MOU. The MOU, I've got no problem with heading off down that track, but quite frankly, having read the youth policy and youth strategy, it just needs such a serious update. I want to do that in the context of the resilience strategy. So,
but what I was trying to say is that I think there's a really important role for the Youth Council around either, you know, updating, developing that strategy, that policy, but also taking a sense of ownership over some of the actions in it, so that those actions actually happen.
yeah, no.
And that's what I'd be really keen to explore.
Yeah,
and that
but-
possibly would need funding.
Yeah, that word puberty ain't going to stay in there. So, sorry, it's so out of date.
Hey, thanks very
Paul.
much for coming in. I want to follow on from Jamie, and it's probably a little bit of work for you guys to do, is to broaden your base of people that are feeding you information. And what I'd really like to know, because I know what I would like to see for the future of the city, and what I think is going to make it a great city in the future, so we don't shortchange the coming generations. But I'd like you guys to go and do a bit of work and come back with 5 ideas that you think that we could actually implement over the next number of years that would actually help retain and attract young people to want to live and work here and actually raise their families. So that's something I'd really love to hear from young people, rather than actually other people who are not young and are trying to apply their thoughts onto the coming generation. So that's a wee bit of work for you guys to do.
Definitely, we'll be reporting back shortly, hopefully.
One of the other things that's going to start happening this year is the representation review, and maybe again the Youth Council would like to be involved in how we design a process which we intend to be quite different from the way things have been done before. We want communities to actually identify themselves, and of course communities' geography are much easier to identify than communities of interest, and how do we make sure that the communities of interest are able to feed into the sort of really the governance of the city at the council level, but then how do we make communities of geography really relevant to potentially participatory planning and participatory democracy in a new way of shared governance of the city, which I think is quite exciting and great potential that we have ahead of us. So I think we're on to a good start. So I guess I would like to move, as a result of the presentation, that this council formally agree to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Christchurch Youth Council, and that could we direct staff to enter into the perhaps establish a framework for discussing, but we'll have a group of councillors that will be involved in that.
Fantastic.
And I'd suggest that Yanni Johansson is the chair of that committee, Jamie Goff is chair of strategy and planning, actually be the 2 councillors that represent the council in negotiating that, unless there's somebody else that would like to be particularly involved. Well, and Paul would like to throw an older voice in there as well. So the 3 councillors, if they could work with staff to develop the terms of that and bring it back to the council, and Pauline as well. The token chick, right? Okay. Yeah, there is no token in any of that group, I can assure you. So. And that staff and councillors, Johansson, Goff, Cotter and Lonsdale, or develop the memorandum of understanding and report back to council by. So I like by dates. So shall we have that reported back by the end of July? Would that
Sounds good.
That'd be
work for you?
wonderful.
Okay, by the end of July 2014. And that's quite good because that will be able to feed into our long-term planning process, which I think will be extremely worthwhile. Excellent. So I'll put that, I'll move the motion and Pauline Cotter will second it, and I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. Thank you. And out of that group, could I just say that out of that group, could you either discuss being the one person who goes to the youth council meetings, or perhaps there might be a roster of people that would
you're
go?
always all welcome to attend at any time. So.
No, I appreciate that. But I think you've asked for a specific person, but in amongst that group, while you're talking to each other, I think if you can come to it, you can report back on that as well, and that would be great. Excellent. Thank you very much. Very worthwhile.
Thank you.
And now we move on to the resolution to include supplementary reports in the meeting. And who would like to move that? Glenn Livingston, seconded by Phil Clearwater. I'll